Hey man, there's a moment in every interaction with a woman, sometimes early, sometimes later, where the energy shifts. You feel it. She starts texting a little slower. Her responses lose warmth. The effort she once poured into you begins to fade. And most guys, they panic. They double down. They overinvest. They try to fill the gap with attention, with validation, with more effort. But that's the exact moment, the one most men fear, when a high-value man does the opposite. That's when you pull away, not out of bitterness, not out of fear, out of awareness. You sense the imbalance, and instead of clinging, you retreat with calm. That silence doesn't push her away, it forces her to notice. And in that noticing, something else happens. She starts to feel your absence. And that absence is the spark that reignites her curiosity. Pulling away isn't about playing games, it's about protecting your value. Every time you overstay emotionally after her interest dips, you're training her to disrespect your energy. You're showing her that she can do less, and you'll still do more. That you're available no matter how much she pulls back. And over time, that kills attraction. But when you pull away at the right moment, not too soon, not too late, you're making a statement without a word. You're saying, I'm paying attention, and I respect myself too much to beg for scraps. That quiet withdrawal sends a ripple through her mind. She may not admit it, but she feels the shift. And because you didn't explain yourself, because you didn't accuse her or lash out, now she's sitting with her own behavior. That's when the self-reflection begins. That's when she starts to ask, wait, did I just lose him? See, attraction lives in tension. Too much pursuit, and the rubber band snaps. Too little, and it never stretches. But the moment you feel her pulling back even slightly, that's the moment to stop giving. Let the rubber band tighten. Let the energy reset. The mistake most men make is thinking that effort always wins her back. But when interest drops, effort is noise. Silence, on the other hand, that gets her attention. Silence makes her listen. When you stop texting first, when you stop checking in, when you remove yourself from the role of emotional janitor, she starts feeling the void. And when that void is felt, her mind starts working. That's when she re-engages, but it only happens if you resist the urge to fix it. The moment you must pull away is when the interaction no longer feels mutual, when you start to feel like you're doing all the work, when her energy feels inconsistent, distracted, or distant. That moment is gold. That's your signal. Don't chase. Don't question her. Don't argue. Just pause. Let her wonder. Let her feel the contrast. Because when she no longer has to earn your presence, she stops valuing it. And when you quietly remove it, you remind her that access to you was never guaranteed. That reminder, it resets everything. It brings her back to the emotional edge she once felt. The uncertainty that made her want to keep your attention in the first place. And let's be clear, pulling away isn't ghosting. It's not disappearing to punish her. It's not a tantrum. It's precision. You pull away with intention. You reduce your availability, your emotional engagement, your investment. You redirect your focus toward your life, your goals, your purpose. You create space, not out of anger, but out of dignity. And that space, it either makes her chase again or makes room for something better. Because you're not afraid to lose her. You're afraid to lose your self-respect. And that's what makes you different. That's what makes her stop and realize she might have underestimated you. Most women don't lose interest all at once. It fades in small ways. She replies less often. The tone shifts. Her enthusiasm drops. But if you're tuned in, you'll catch it early. That's your cue. That's when you step back. Not with drama, but with composure. She expects you to fight harder. She expects you to ask what's wrong. But when you don't, when you calmly step into your own space, focused and unfazed, now she's the one wondering. That reversal is subtle but powerful, and it only works if you're disciplined enough to do less when your ego screams to do more. A high-value man doesn't chase when his energy isn't being matched. He observes, he adapts, he creates distance without resentment. That's what separates him from the crowd, because most men fear distance. They think silence is failure, but the ones who know, the ones who've lived it, they understand silence is often the beginning of desire. It's the breath between notes that makes music. It's the pause that resets polarity. When you pull away at the right moment, you're not ending things. You're re-establishing balance. You're giving her a chance to remember your worth. And when you pull away, you get something else. most men never do. Clarity. You see how she responds. Does she step up or does she stay gone? Either answer gives you truth. No more guessing, no more wondering where you stand. Her response to your distance reveals everything. And if she doesn't return, that's your proof. You never had her in the first place. But if she does, you return. Not with open arms, but with new standards, new boundaries, a new version of you that won't tolerate what you used to. That's not bitterness, that's growth. That's knowing exactly when to walk and exactly when to let her walk toward you. There's a difference between disappearing and detaching. When you disappear, you create confusion. When you detach, you create clarity. She sees it in your tone, your pace, your availability. You're no longer prioritizing her energy because her energy didn't prioritize you. That doesn't make you bitter, it makes you precise. You're showing her, without announcement, that you are no longer participating in a one-sided story. And if she wants to rewrite that story, she'll have to step up. Because now, for the first time in a long time, she feels your absence. And absence is a powerful teacher. It teaches her the value of your presence. It teaches her what silence feels like after taking your attention for granted. That lesson, if it lands, changes everything. Pulling away doesn't mean cutting her off completely. It means recalibrating the dynamic. You stop texting just to keep her attention. You stop making plans that only you initiate. You stop offering energy into a space that no longer feeds you. And you do it all with composure. Because the man who pulls away with peace sends a very different signal than the man who storms out in frustration. One looks weak, the other looks powerful. She's seen the first, she's rarely met the second, and that difference creates intrigue. She starts wondering why you're so calm, why you're not chasing, why you didn't collapse when her attention dipped. And in that wondering, she begins to reflect. That reflection is everything, because women don't respond to pressure, they respond to contrast. She expects that when she pulls back, you'll push harder, that when she shows less interest, you'll show more. But when you don't, when you flip the pattern, her brain hits pause. She doesn't know what to do with your detachment, and in that moment of uncertainty, she re-engages. Not because you manipulated her, but because you forced her to recognize that you're not the man she thought you were. You're not dependent, you're not desperate, you're aware enough to know when a connection starts slipping into imbalance, and strong enough to do something about it. Think about how many men stay too long in situations where they're being emotionally starved. They keep giving, hoping it will go back to how it was. But nothing changes when you stay in the same place, using the same energy. Change happens in contrast, in distance, in silence. When you pull away, you shock the system. She realizes that your attention wasn't endless, that your presence wasn't free, that your affection had a price, reciprocity. And once she sees that, once she feels the difference between being pursued and being ignored, she starts to chase what she used to control. That's the shift. That's the moment she starts trying to earn you again. And here's the beauty of it. When you pull away at the exact right moment, you regain your own clarity. You stop obsessing over her mood, her replies, her validation. You reconnect to your mission, to your vision, to your internal rhythm. The silence becomes a sanctuary. You realize you were giving too much. You were overextending. And now that you're not, you feel lighter, sharper, stronger. And from that space, you have power. You're no longer waiting for her to pick up the slack. You're walking your own path. And if she wants to meet you on it, she'll have to do it with effort, not out of guilt, but because she remembers what it felt like to matter to a man who didn't need her, but chose her anyway. You start to realize that pulling away isn't just about regaining her interest, it's about regaining your own frame. When you were too available, too eager, too emotionally reactive, you were unconsciously communicating one dangerous thing: you have control over my state. And no woman respects a man who gives his emotional power away. But when you pull back, not emotionally cold, but emotionally centered, you reclaim that power. You're no longer waiting for a text to determine your mood. You're no longer checking her stories for clues. You've stepped out of her orbit and back into your own gravity. And that, man, is where your real attraction begins. Not because she's watching, but because you're watching yourself again. There's something wildly attractive about a man who can walk away while still liking her. That's the difference. You're not leaving because you hate her. You're not detaching because you're bitter. You're simply acknowledging a shift in energy, and you're refusing to carry the weight of a connection that's no longer mutual. That kind of integrity is rare, and women feel it. They might not say it, they might even get defensive, but deep down, they know. They know when they stop showing up. They know when they got too comfortable. And when you silently remove your presence, they're forced to confront that reality, sometimes for the first time. This is the exact moment most men ruin their leverage. They feel the shift. They know she's backing off. But instead of pulling back, they double down, they smother, they beg, they become predictable. And predictable energy is forgettable energy. You become the guy who was too much. But the man who feels that shift and gracefully steps back, not out of fear, but out of clarity, that man becomes the one she replays in her mind. Because she never got to fully control him. She never got to fully explain his absence. And what you can't explain, you can't forget. Let me be clear, pulling away doesn't guarantee she'll chase. It's not a trick, it's not a formula, but it does guarantee you'll stop bleeding energy into a dying connection. It puts the power back where it belongs in your hands. And the more you live by this principle, the more you begin to notice something else. Your standards rise. You don't tolerate low-effort behavior. You don't keep trying to impress women who treat you like an option. You become the chooser, not the chaser. And when she senses that, her whole demeanor changes. She shows up more. She leans in, because now she's not dealing with a man who's trying to earn her. She's dealing with a man she might lose. There's a natural masculine confidence that grows in you when you stop fearing disconnection. You stop seeing a woman's silence as rejection and start seeing it as redirection. Maybe she's not ready. Maybe she's not interested. Maybe she's just playing games. Either way, you're not playing. You're not here to convince her. You're here to express yourself, to share energy that is balanced. And when it's not met, you walk. That quiet self-trust is magnetic. And it only comes when you start pulling away at the right moment, not as a strategy, but as a way of protecting your peace. The men who win in the long run are not the loudest. They're not the flashiest. They're not the most reactive. They're the ones who know exactly when to lean in and exactly when to let go. They read the moment. They trust their gut. They step back when the energy shifts. And by doing so, they let her miss what she once took for granted. And that space, that pause, that absence, it becomes louder than any text, louder than any apology, louder than any confession. Because now she's not hearing your voice, she's hearing your absence. And sometimes that's the only thing that makes her truly listen. And if she doesn't respond to that silence, then you've won too. Because you've protected your dignity, you've honored your value, you've walked with grace. And maybe that door closes, but you walk through the next one, a better man, more aware, more grounded, less likely to chase what never deserved your energy in the first place. That's the deeper win, the one that reshapes how you show up for every connection going forward. Because the man who knows when to pull away is the man who never loses himself again. So the next time you feel that moment, that dip in effort, that silence that lasts too long, that message that feels empty, don't react, don't chase, don't spiral, just pause. Feel the shift. Then slowly step back. Let your silence do the speaking. Let your absence create the tension. Let her sit with the realization that the man she thought would always be there isn't. Not because he stopped caring, but because he started respecting himself more than he needed her affection. That's how you shift the dynamic. That's how you raise her interest. Not by trying harder, but by knowing exactly when to stop trying at all. That pause, that restraint, that moment of masculine self-control, it changes everything. Because now, you're no longer chasing chemistry, you're demanding alignment. And from that place, you don't just attract her back, you attract better every time.